Hello and welcome to the Orange County Department of Education Virtual College Fair, brought to you by California Out of State and International College Fairs. We're so excited to have you participating in this event. We have our fantastic panelists with us here today, Marc and Margo. They will have 45 minutes to present to you about saving on tuition with WUE. My name is Jenny and I will be your facilitator. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items. Your camera and microphone are off, so the panelists cannot see or hear you. However, you can use the Q&A button on your screen to type your questions to our presenters at any time. This is just one of many different sessions happening, so be sure to check out the schedule on the website. This presentation is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/COSI. I'd now like to turn it over to our presenters, Marc and Margo.
Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to our session on Save on Tuition with WUE, the Western Undergraduate Exchange. Discover your options in the West. My name is Marc McGee. I'm a college counselor at Bellarmine College Prep in San Jose, California, a all-guys Jesuit high school. For many years, I was at Cal State University Maritime Academy, which is the proportionally largest user of WUE scholarships of people coming to California from around the West among all the WUE schools in California. So I learned to know a lot about WUE. And I want to introduce my co-presenter today, Margo Colalancia, the Director of Student Access Programs at WICHE. She'll explain what WICHE is. It's the parent organization of Western Undergraduate Exchange, or WUE. And we do want to remind you, it's just the two of us today. So we want to answer your questions. So please use the Q&A feature throughout the presentation, but we won't be able to answer your questions during the presentation because it's just the two of us. We will answer them at the end. So going on, we want you to think about, and I think to advance that, you can go ahead, Margo.
Okay, and we're good with the presentation is showing correctly, Marc?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. So why consider studying out of state? So there are, a number of reasons why it's smart to do this. Your student, if you're the student or you're the parent, opportunities for greater independence, living away from home, and it could be your fast track crash course toward confidence and adulthood. Also, you might find some colleges that will offer you a deal you can't refuse. One where you'd pay less than if you attended college in California, especially in a public university in California. Also, another reason to consider out of state, you might find a campus environment that's got the perfect vibe for you. It's hard to find a really ski or snow sport oriented campus in California, and certainly those abound in the West, for example. Also, there are some surf spot campuses in California, but think of the surf spot campuses, say, in Hawaii. And also, another reason, looking for a new cultural experience and lifestyle, to go somewhere new, to experience different geography, food, climate, and more. And finally, your future career choice may influence where you need to study. So if you're interested in the Arctic and global climate change, Alaska could be a fantastic place to study. If you're interested in marine biology, again, what could be better than the Hawaiian Islands? So moving on, what does it take to go out of state? We have some myths and surprises for you. I'll let Margo take it away.
Okay. So Marc, isn't it always true that tuition costs are higher out of state?
So the answer to that, Margo, is false. You might be surprised at what you'll find looking at out of state college costs, especially with what you're about to hear in future slides about the Western Undergraduate Exchange.
Okay. Well, what about another thing I'm a little bit hesitant about? Doesn't it take longer to finish a degree if you're studying out of state? Actually,
that's another kind of false premise or myth. That out-of-state universities are actually just as conscious of students' desire and families' desire for the student to get out with their degree in an efficient a time as possible, hopefully 4 years to get that bachelor's degree. So out-of-state universities do everything they can to ensure that's going to happen, as long as a student makes good academic progress.
Okay, well, what about number 3? Isn't it harder for California students to get admitted in an out-of-state institution compared to California?
Actually, that's another falsehood. I know that some people think when you're an out-of-state student, maybe they have higher admission standards or something, but there are many out-of-state public universities where it's not any harder to be admitted than it is for in-state students. So that is, I guess, a myth out there. It's true for some schools, it is a little bit harder, but I bet you're a fine enough student to get past that.
Okay. Well, what about number 4? Aren't majors, don't they tend to be more impacted outside of California than in California institutions?
Well, I will say that's also a falsehood. I think I see a trend here that all first 4 seem to be false. But this is the first time we've mentioned the term impacted. That simply means that a major is more competitive to get into than another program. It means there's more demand to get into the department or the school than there is space available. And people sometimes think it is harder to get into programs out of state. And actually, in the past few years, it's been much more difficult to get into California public institutions for the most part than out-of-state public institutions in the West. And that is the group WICHE, or excuse me, WUE, Western Undergraduate Exchange, are all out-of-state public universities.
Okay.
Oh, and so this last one, so, you know, it kind of relates to the first one about tuition costs. There is a great way to save on tuition costs. So, you know, I'll let you take this one, Margo. Is there a great way to save on tuition costs?
Yes, there definitely is, Mark. And that's thanks to WUE, the Western Undergraduate Exchange. So you're probably wondering, we've heard the words WICHE in this presentation, WUE, and it's like so close to Halloween, you're wondering, what is WICHE? What is WUE?
Well, I love baby pictures.
WICHE is the Western Undergraduate, excuse me, WICHE is the Western Interstate Commission for Higher Education. It's a nonprofit agency, a regional compact of Western states, and it was actually established almost 70 years ago in 1953 to help Western states share their limited higher education resources. So like I said, it's 69 years old right now, pretty soon going to be celebrating our 70th birthday. It has a long-standing track record of giving students in the Western states affordable higher ed options. WICHE, the agency, is comprised of 15 Western states and the US Pacific territories. So WICHE is the agency that established the WUE program, the Western Undergraduate Exchange. And you can see here that California is a member of WICHE. So what is WUE? Well, it's America's largest regional interstate tuition savings program. It's been operating since 1988, so almost 35 years. We have more than 160 community colleges and universities participating in the program. There are only public institutions that participate. Privates do not participate in WUE. The institutions are located in our 15 member states in the West and US Pacific territories. This is your opportunity to earn certificates, associates, and bachelor's degrees, and your tuition won't be any more than 150% of in-state tuition of the enrolling institution's in-state tuition. So last year, in 2021, we had over 46,000 students who saved an estimated $503 million. Yes, you're not reading that wrong, it's $1 million. On out-of-state tuition, and among those students, more than 19,000 California residents saved more than $227 million. So it's a big program. Mark, let's show everybody a few examples of great campuses where they can save big.
Okay, great. So I want to lead you through this chart because it's going to help you understand the great savings of Western Undergraduate Exchange WUE. And I think to start, look at what's at the bottom of the slide. You need to understand that what California's in-state tuition is for the California State University, CSU, and the UC, University of California. So CSU tuition, that's the cost of attending classes for a year, is $5,700 per year. For the UC system, like UCLA, Cal Berkeley, UC Davis, or UC Irvine, it's 11,500 basically. Okay, so think about UC tuition is 11,500. Now let's look at some of the examples that are above those numbers. Let's look at Washington State University, including the main campus in Pullman, Washington, where the football team plays and everyone sees on Saturday games. Their in-state tuition, don't have to worry about that because you don't live in Washington, but look at their non-resident tuition out of state. They charge $26,000 for out-of-state students to attend Washington State. But when you live in a WUE state like California, you don't pay $26,000. You actually pay the WUE cost over on the right, $15,000 per year. So you're saving $11,000. Now compare $15,000 at Washington State to 11,500 down below at the UC system. So WUE helps the cost become very close to staying in state and going to a public university here in California. At Colorado State Fort Collins, you can see their non-resident tuition is close to $29,000, but their WUE tuition is only $18,800 basically. Look at down further, University of Nevada, Las Vegas, but a lot of people use University of Nevada, Reno. That's kind of their flagship school. So their non-resident tuition is $23,000, but with WUE, their WUE tuition for California students is only $11,000. That's the same as UC tuition. And NAU, Northern Arizona University, so popular, some people call it UC Flagstaff, but it is an Arizona school. Their WUE tuition is just about $15,900. So you can see WUE is making out-of-state publics much closer to in-state tuition for Californians. Moving on. Oh, sorry. I do want to say one thing. How many California students enrolled at Northern Arizona on WUE? About 3,000 students. University of Nevada, Reno, about 2,200 California students used WUE tuition to attend UNR, and about 2,000 students used WUE tuition to enroll at a school not on this list, University of Hawaii, Manoa. That's the main University of Hawaii on Oahu. So that's a fantastic opportunity to live in Hawaii. What could be better? Okay, moving on, we got Arizona State. Now, Arizona State has a few campuses in the Phoenix area, and the ones we're talking about here are not the main one with the Tempe with the football stadium and everything. It's the one sort of in the outer regions, the Polytechnic campus west of downtown. Their WUE tuition is about $14,000 compared to $11,500 with UC. Montana State in Bozeman, the most beautiful place on earth. Their WUE tuition is below UC. Actually, it's not that far from the California State University tuition, only about $8,500 to go to Montana State. Colorado Mesa University, which is about 15,000 students large. It's in a city called Grand Junction on the western side of Colorado. Their WUE tuition is $13,000. And Oregon Institute of Technology, OIT in Klamath Falls, their WUE tuition is $14,000, a great alternative for students that are worried about getting into engineering programs at public universities in California. All right. And one more, but wait, there's more. One more thing with Colorado Mesa, you can actually stack scholarships. So you can get academic or merit scholarships at Colorado Mesa beyond the WUE scholarship. So it could cost even less. It's not common for schools to stack merit and WUE scholarships, but a few of the campuses do. And Colorado Mesa is definitely one of them. Going on, just one more page of examples. We're not going to go through every WUE school, but these are some popular ones with Californians. Western Washington University in beautiful Bellingham between Seattle and the Canadian border. Their WUE tuition just about $11,500. Southern Oregon University in Ashland, Oregon, a great college town. Their WUE tuition $13,000. That's where the Oregon Shakespeare Festival is held during the summer. Fort Lewis College, I call it the campus in the sky in Durango, Colorado, on a mesa above the city with the San Juan Mountains all around and big name ski resorts very close by. Only $10,500 for their WUE scholarships, WUE tuition. And University of New Mexico, a larger school, more of an urban atmosphere in the middle of Albuquerque, right along Route 66. Their tuition for WUE is only $10,300, so that's less than UC tuition. Okay, yeah, so moving on. Oh, sorry, yeah. I did want to mention that Southern Oregon University has a kind of a Cal Poly feel to it. And so Margo will put in a URL in the chat later about a saving sheet. We've got links toward the end of the program that will show you these campuses and more, and links to more information about them.
Great, thank you, Marc. So just a few more tips about which WUE institutions participate, et cetera. So as Marc mentioned earlier, ASU Tempe main campus does not participate, but its downtown Polytechnic and West campuses do participate in WUE. Colorado School Mines is a no-go. University of Colorado at Boulder, not available. Neither are University of Oregon nor University of Washington. And then some of our institutions have very limited major options through WUE. For example, the University of Arizona in Tucson participates, but they only offer 2 majors at the WUE rate. So mining engineering and natural resources. So just be aware that if you need to check carefully to see what's available.
So if I could just add a couple of things about this slide, Margo, just based on my travels to some of these universities and learning about their latest programs. UC Boulder, well, the campus there in Boulder does not offer WUE. If students who are interested in engineering should know that UC Boulder has branch department campuses at other Colorado universities, for example, at Colorado Mesa University and Colorado Western University in Gunnison. They've built smaller versions of the engineering department at UC Boulder. So those campuses do offer WUE. So you can get the WUE scholarship at those other campuses where they have kind of outposts of Boulder's engineering school, but you still get a Boulder degree, a UC Boulder degree. So that's actually kind of a great deal. And finally, UC Boulder, as great as it is, doesn't hasn't cornered the market on being that type of campus. If you love UC Boulder and you're a little disappointed, CU Boulder, and you're disappointed they don't have WUE, think about University of Utah on the other side of the kind of Rocky Mountains on the Wasatch, also connected to a major metro area about the same size as CU Boulder, but they do offer WUE. So you have many of the same attributes as the Boulder campus.
Great tips, Marco, especially about that engineering program. That's great to know. So let's just talk about a few quick steps when you're exploring your WUE options. First of all, as I mentioned, check the WUE savings finder. That's going to be your best resource. Here's a screenshot of it. We have profiles of all the participating WUE institutions, so over 160 of them. Obviously, some are in California. You're not going to need those because you already qualify for resident tuition, obviously, but you've got over 140 more options to explore. So in addition to using the savings finder, first thing you want to do is make sure your major is eligible, if you know what it is. And just a heads up, if you're going to go in undeclared and later on you declare a major that's off the WUE menu at the institution where you're enrolling at, they can charge you regular non-resident tuition. So please be aware of that. You're going to want to check the deadlines and minimum requirements at the institutions where you want to apply to. They might have GPA requirements. They still might require test scores, although a lot of them are still test optional, and application deadlines. You also want to find out whether or not they have a special WUE application that you need to complete in addition to their regular application. Some of our institutions just consider you automatically if you're a California resident, but others you have to specifically apply and using their WUE application in addition to the regular one. And finally, we always encourage you to complete the FAFSA form. Even though WUE is not need-based typically, it's a good idea to have that FAFSA ready. So then you've got it prepared no matter where you end up. Some other things to know about WUE. The cost of living at many of our WUE institutions outside of California can be cheaper than living in California. And some examples, New Mexico, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota. We hear this quite often, California residents saying, wow, I'm paying less than if I were living in state and going to a California college. Also at WUE colleges, more of our students tend to graduate in 4 years. They're motivated to stay on track because typically our institutions will limit you, the universities will limit you to 4 years maximum at the discounted rate. WUE institutions also determine which of their majors are eligible for the discounted rate, something that we kind of pointed out before. Another thing to consider is that WUE is often a merit-based award tied to GPA. So just so you know that just because you apply for WUE doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to get it. Another thing that's important to point out is that institutions can set limits on the number of WUE awards. So even if you're under, you've got the GPA you need or beyond, if they've already reached their quota of WUE awards for the coming academic year, they could say, sorry, we don't have any more. So make sure you beat the cap and apply early for WUE. Most of our WUE colleges accept transfer students, which is great news. Some of them don't accept them for all majors. Let's say if they had a nursing major available at the WUE rate, they might require that you go in as a freshman. That's just one example. You always want to remain in good academic standing to keep your WUE rate once you've got it. So don't go into the red zone. Typically, it's like a 3.0 to maintain your WUE, but check with the institution and know what their requirements are. And then just one final mention, you can't, most of you probably aren't eligible to do this anyway, but if you are of the age where you wanted to apply for residency in the state where you're enrolling, you can't file for residency while you're paying the WUE rate. So you'd have to pay a year of non-resident before you did that. Mark, how about some more tips here?
Yeah, so, doing your research, pro tips coming up here, doing your research, there is, a number of ways to do that research. Of course, some of you go to high schools where your high school has sort of a college portal where you sort of start listing the schools you're interested in, and maybe there's a research component of that. If your school uses a system called Naviance or Maya, or it might be others. Some of you are at schools that don't have kind of a separate research system or a place where you can kind of keep your application straight as you approach your senior year. But if you do, you can do some research through that. And there are some other, like the government has something called College Navigator. You can see the website there. That's another place to start doing research based on what size school you feel comfortable with, what kind of majors you think you might be interested in now, or maybe the environment or the size of the town. There are many factors, what sport a school offers. If you want to make sure you have the opportunity to try out, or at least it's a sport that you want to be a huge fan of while you're on the campus. There's also WUE Savings Finder. That's another place where you can do research specifically on the schools that participate in WUE. They've got not just their WUE rates or the fact that they offer WUE, but they do, you can filter by various aspects of the schools that are part of WUE. There's a College Board, that's the group that does the SAT. They have sort of a college search website. You don't have to take the SAT to use it. It's called Big Future, that's listed there. And then there's some scholarship portals there to look for scholarships based on maybe what you are interested in, or a certain aspect of your heritage, or other things your family is connected with. Scholarships.com, for example. And do real, kind of buyer beware. Don't use a scholarship website that asks you for money to help you find scholarships. You should never have to pay to research scholarships. And then the college's own websites, right? To look up University of Nevada, Reno, just go to unr.edu. To look montana.edu for University of Montana. And once you're on a college website, all you should need to do to find out about their WUE program, what majors, what GPA you might need, or if it's all people get it from a certain state, is just type in WUE in their internal search box. They all should be optimized to get you just to the right page, so you don't have to search through their huge university websites. Okay, and a couple other tips are not on the slide. Before you have contact with the university, you do want to get on their contact lists so they can send you information on the things you might be interested in. Get a professional sounding email address. You probably have slightly embarrassing ones you've used with your friends all along. Get a little more professional one that's based on your name or something you're interested in. Okay, and also other things you can look up in these research websites. You can put in SAT scores that you might already have or other test scores or your GPA. Now, as far as merit aid, some insider tips here that you might have been reading as I've been talking to further entice out-of-state students. WUE schools offer some other types of scholarships as well, usually merit-based awards like academic scholarships. So for example, if you don't qualify for the WUE scholarship, if they've set that GPA level kind of high, if you're just below the level for WUE, they may have an academic scholarship that is almost the same amount of a discount as WUE, but maybe not quite as high. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing if they have set a high bar for WUE. And again, every once in a while, you'll find a campus that will allow you to get both WUE scholarship and merit awards. But they do have, of course, many of the WUE programs are Division I, Division III. They may have scholarships. And then performing arts scholarships, if you're play the harp or you have are a triple threat in theater, music, and dance, you can get performing arts scholarships too that can perhaps add to the WUE discount. So moving on, creating a balanced college list. That's kind of important. And I don't know if you out there are sophomores, juniors, or younger, but when you think about college, don't think about just the marquee names that everyone thinks about or these schools that you only see on ESPN on Saturday mornings for the big football matches. Think about fit. Think about a school's vibe. If you're a socially conscious, social justice oriented person, look at, does the vibe of the school, does the ethos of the school match what you stand for? Academically, do you like a school that's ultra competitive, or do you like a school that's more collaborative, where you're working in groups and people are assisting people do better? It's not so cutthroat. Financially, you do at some point need to talk to your family saying, we don't worry, we have money saved for college, or we haven't saved very much, so every scholarship counts. And so you need to look for places where you could get the most financial aid possible. And also, of course, your own personal values. If your family is where faith is important, there are faith-based schools, but when you're looking, of course, at WICHE schools, we're talking WUE schools, those are more public institutions. So, but I can tell you, if you have a certain set of values, many of them are quite large, so they've got supportive groups to fit many different types of personal values on their campus. And of course, those researching your options, again, we mentioned College Navigator, another one here called CapEx. All right, and also, are the colleges in urban areas, like a downtown type of campus like USC in Southern California, or are they more suburban campuses? I know a lot of you are from Orange County, like Chapman University, for example, or Cal State Fullerton. Or are they kind of out in more rural areas where it's nature and it's a little quieter and chance for you to just kind of think about things, but you still have access into a lot of things in nearby cities. So creating that balanced college list. Okay, academic profile. So think about a school. Is it one you're likely to be admitted to based on what they'll tell you on their website about their average grades and test scores, and how, do they admit 60%, 60% of the people applied, or they only admit 6% of the people who apply? And when a school's below 25% admission rate, it's a reach for all students. For example, the UC system, for example, University of California, that's a reach school for most, if not the big majority of students in California. So there's just maybe UC Merced might be a little more accessible. But if you're thinking about UC Irvine or UC San Diego or UC Davis or Cal or UCLA, for goodness sakes, that's going to be below a 25% admit rate. So it's okay to have those on your list. They could be your dream schools, and maybe there'll be something really compelling, but you don't want your entire list to be those REACH schools. You want also ones that you have a higher chance of being admitted to. And your major can matter, because at many schools, it may be more competitive to get into certain majors like nursing or engineering or computer science. Those are always a little tougher to get into than if the degree you want to get from the schools may be history or psychology or social science. And demonstrated interest, it is good to get on contact lists. When you go to a website, leave your email and your name and maybe your birth date. They don't get real intrusive. They're good. Don't ever give your social security number, of course, but give enough so they can keep track of you, because there are schools out there where you're more likely to get in if they know you're super interested, as demonstrated by the number of events you've gone to on their campus or in your local area. And if you've visited them and if you've contacted them, not stalker level. We don't want any court orders keeping you away from the colleges, but you know how to act interested with the schools. And then, of course, visits are so helpful. Nothing replaces a college visit. And maybe colleges come to your high school. And so it'd be great to meet with those people. If they've taken the time to visit your high school, take some time to visit with them and make sure they know you. Introduce yourself. And also follow them on social media. Become their friends on TikTok or on Instagram or whatever social media you like. They're not all Facebook anymore. They're in the places you hang out. So go to their pages and become their friends. They'll remember you, and you'll find out more about the colleges that way. All right, so here's an example of somebody. This is a very interesting young man, but he says, in a world where student debt can literally follow you to your grave, he was thankful he paid the reduced tuition with WUE. He could focus on his electrical engineering studies and have fewer worries about financial security buzzing in the back of his head. And so this is a student at New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology. I think they might also go by New Mexico Tech, which is a school you might have heard of, but these tech schools like Montana Tech, Oregon Institute of Technology, they're great alternative schools for engineering majors. You're not going to go into mining necessarily. They're usually very hands-on, and you can apply it to all sorts of different ways of applying STEM majors. All right. And so finally, you're more than your test score. So most schools now are test optional, or in California at the UC and CSU, they are test free forever and ever now. So don't worry about your tests so much. Here at my school, we recommend everybody takes at least the test once and then evaluates if they want to take it again and if they ever want a school to see it. And that usually relates to where your score is in relation to the students they typically admit. And that's a statistic they often put on their websites or in their brochures. But if you want to know which schools are test optional or test free, as we like to call it, where you cannot even send it if you wanted to, go to fairtest.org. It's the most up-to-date list of what schools are doing with their testing policies. So don't get stuck on the same top 40 schools that all your friends talk about in the high school lunchroom. There are 3,000 colleges in the US. There are colleges abroad. There's colleges in Canada. And of course, a lot of great schools in WUE. So that you might not have heard of, but they're fantastic. So go and visit whenever you can, but kind of look for that unturned stone. Find that path less taken, that undiscovered treasure. Okay, they're out there, I guarantee it. And apply to at least some colleges where you'll maximize your acceptances. You don't want to get turned down at all your schools. So don't put all your, I'm using cliche after cliche, eggs in one basket. Make sure, again, you have a balanced list of colleges. What you do in college is more important than which college you attend. Colleges are not, but just based on which school it is, are not the key to your success. It's what you do in the college that is the best fit for you. Consider out-of-state colleges to be part of that balanced college list. Hopefully some WUE schools are on that list. and talk to your college counselor, your school counselor. You know, I know sometimes it's hard. Maybe they have a lot of students to take care of, but try and have a conversation with them. They know things. We know things.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Just a few more comments about why WUE works. Obviously, it's a successful program. It's been going for almost 35 years, and it's the biggest in the nation. First of all, for students, it's a win because if your major is impacted in California, community colleges or universities, you have alternatives through WUE, and they are affordable. Secondly, you don't have to be an A student to get WUE at all the schools that participate. Many will consider B or C students. So just make sure you keep your grades up to keep your WUE award if you are awarded it. And as we mentioned earlier, some schools may have changed their GPA requirements, excuse me. So for the most accurate information, a lot of our institutions are good about updating their WUE profile, but they don't always do that. So double check on the institution's WUE website page or WUE page. Another tip is that obviously, and Mark kind of alluded to this early in the presentation, studying out of state gives you a chance to discover new places, new people, new perspectives, and more. And there's a lot out there through WUE. So we invite you to explore that. WUE saves you money and it motivates you to complete your degree on time. As I mentioned earlier, usually there's a four-year limit at the universities. And so a lot of our students are really high performing, and that's great for your return on investment, for your cost of living while you're in college, et cetera. It really maximizes everything that you put into your education. Our colleges love WUE too. They love to bring in California residents. It helps them achieve their enrollment goals. It will help also, WUE helps them fill specialized programs that they might not fill with just their in-state students. And the other thing that they really love about it is that it attracts motivated students from different backgrounds and perspectives. And that just enriches the classroom experience for everybody there when you've got a more diverse student body. So that's one reason a lot of our institutions participate. We'd like to take some of your questions. And do we have any questions in the Q&A at all?
I don't see any, actually.
Okay, I don't see any.
No one's typed in any yet.
If y'all have any, please go ahead and share them. Okay, well, maybe we'll just keep going here.
Keep going.
Okay, we promised to share some URLs, so this will be in the presentation as well. We've got our WICHE website, the Savings Finder link. We also have a handout with a list of all the institutions that participate by state. We have a savings chart that gives estimates. So right now we just have the 2021 tuition estimates. We'll be having more updated tuition for 2022 savings later in November of this year. Let's see, we've also got an FAQ that's really helpful. And if you're from a state not in the West, there are other options for similar WUE programs. There's one in the Northeast. There's one in the Midwest called MSEP, which is very closely resembles WUE. And then you have the Southern program, SREB. Please be aware with the Southern program for that's WUE-like, you have to, you can only enroll in outside of your home state at a reduced tuition amount if your major is not available in your home state institution or a public institution. And then we also have the tuition and fees report, which is all the Western public institutions, the 2021 tuition. Your parents might want to look at that too and just see what's out there. Well, if there's nothing else, I think just a few more things we wanted to mention. Remember to sign up for session B2. It's at 6 p.m. today Pacific time, and it'll be your opportunity to connect with 6 more WUE institutions. I think Jenny, our facilitator, is going to come back on. And in the meantime, we wish you all the best in your college search and hope that you look at WUE schools. Mark, anything more you wanted to say?
No, I don't. We're getting a little close to time. Someone did Yes, we did put up the links in the chat. I'm looking at a couple of questions now. And what kind of scholarships are in WUE? And so WUE is, many people think of WUE as a scholarship. It's really a discounted tuition rate. So you are saving money by not paying the full out-of-state tuition or non-resident tuition, but in it itself is not a scholarship, although in some ways it is, because some schools, to keep the WUE scholarship, first to get it, you have to have a certain GPA level, and to retain it, you have to have a certain GPA level, but that is all set by the individual institution. I hope I answered maybe the spirit of that question.
Thank you, Mark. And I did put one link in the chart, and the other links will be in the presentation. So please check those out there.
Anything else? I think I'm done. Thank you very much, Margo, and thank you, Jenny, for facilitating.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Jenny.
Absolutely. Thanks to both of you for joining us today and letting us know about WUE. And thank you to the participants for joining us as well. When you close this window, there will be a link to a very quick 5-question survey. So we'd appreciate any feedback that you can provide. And we encourage you to check back to the schedule and sign up for more sessions, just as Mark and Margo let us know about. You'll be able to find this session's recording as well as all of the other session recordings from tonight at strivescan.com/COSI. That's COSI. Thank you very much. Best of luck on your college search process.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.